Hello, everybody, and welcome into this week's episode of the Chicago Sports Mayhem Talk Show. Last week I had some things go on, that's why there was not an episode last week, and I apologize for that. But this week, man, we got a lot going on. I am your host, Andrew Mighty Manshide, as always. You know, we gotta keep Andrew with you guys, right? We gotta keep me with you guys. I'm the reason you're here, right? No, but in all truth and point, guys, I'm just excited to be here every week with you guys, just talk sports and give you an update on Chicago sports as things go on. We got a lot to talk about this week. Now, some of the stuff in the graphics today, I will warn, is just a day or so outdated, and I apologize for that because of afternoon games today. But, yeah, I mean, guys, a lot has been happening in the city of Chicago when it comes to sports as of late. And it's not always Chicago sports. Let's get that out of the way. It wasn't all Chicago teams, and we'll get into that a little later. But to start off, we have to start talking about these Cubs and these White Sox. And when I say that, I'm like, okay, well, let's start off with the team that's kind of been proving everybody a little wrong coming out of the All-Star break. We are officially in the second half of the season. We're less than a week away from the trade deadline with the MLB, so that's going to be interesting to see where both Chicago clubs go in that. But who's the team that's really been most pressing me out of the All-Star break? Just with their type of play is the Cubs. And yes, I know I'm wearing the Sox jersey, and I'm saying the Cubs are where everything is at right now. It's just because the type of play I've been seeing out of the Cubs, it makes me feel like the Cubs are back. The Cubs are back to where they were last year and where everyone expected them to be going into this year. Like, yeah, the Cubs are back. They're hitting better. Bregman is finally coming out of it. There's so much to talk about, but they're playing the Cardinals right now, right? They just won that series with a win today. So, they're showing a lot of people that, yeah, we may have struggles early on in the year, but we're going to come into this second half of the year and we're going to prove to you who we really can be. And I think that's what the Cubs have really strived to do coming out of the All-Star break. And, I mean, it shows, doesn't it? It really shows that this team is starting to try just a little bit harder, in my opinion. There were some players, in my opinion, that weren't really trying or playing at their best the first half, and Bregman being one of them. I knew he could play better. I know, historically, he has a horrible first half of the season. Well, I don't care, because I've been saying it since day one, and I will continue to flog the dead horse. You are in a division now where you can't afford to have a slow first half. Now, granted, your teammates helped keep this team in this division race. Yes, you're about 5 or 6 games back of Milwaukee in the division. You're leading in the wild card. Very good. Now show Chicago what you are made of, Northsiders. Show us what you can do. Show us the 2016 Cubs. Show us the 2015 Cubs. Because those were both great clubs. One a game away from the World Series. One took the World Series. So let's see that fight out of these Chicago Cubs. But hey, that's just a sports pundit talking. Let's take a look, everyone, at just what this Cubs team has been able to do since coming back from the All-Star break. Because to me, it's impressive. This Cubs team has taken aspirations and are like, we're gonna be 8-5, or should I say now 9-5 with the win today out of the All-Star break. And I mean, they're really, really feeling it. Like I said, they're starting to fire at all fronts, and pitching is getting better. Pitching is still wounded. Let's not blow past the fact that the pitching is still wounded, and I forgot to make a graphic for that today, and it's kicking me in the teeth now. But yeah, let's just say that the pitching still needs help. And I've done so many shows for my class, so many shows for WRMN, where I said I will be completely honest at where this Cubs team, with them being where they're at right now, they're playing better in the second half of the year. What I believe we should see out of this Cubs team in the second half, go and get some pitching. Yes, you got Aaron Savali from the Athletics earlier in the trade deadline era, I should say, kind of right early on there. A few weeks back, they got Aaron Savali from the Athletics, but they really haven't made many other moves than that. There's been speculation going around that we could see a guy by the name of Tarek Skubal on the north side. Now, if we want to look at it and talk about it that way, I guess let's just say theoretically it could work, okay? And because let's run down a list here of when you're looking to trade someone away, right? Before they're at the end of the contract year and they're going to hit the free agent market. So here's the one thing I would say a team would look at, in my opinion, when you're looking to trade someone away. What can we get for him? Where is he going? Is he going to be a threat to us, going forward? Or are we going to ship him out of, in this case, the American League? Okay. And then, can you get good in return on that player still? Right? Is he worth anything? And I totally believe that Tarek Skubal is worth somebody's farm system, but it ain't the Cubs. Now, I will say this. When I say it's worth somebody's farm system, I believe the Detroit Tigers are going to go out maybe in the next 2 days or so, and I'm not wearing a watch. I don't know why I was doing that. Maybe the next 2 days or so, and they're going to say, okay, we're going to want a lot in return if you want Skubal, because let's be honest, these teams know what the Cubs and what both Chicago teams are looking for, because when is the last time I've said this before, when is the last time both these teams have been buyers at this deadline? It's been a while, maybe 2020, the pandemic year, but even then, I don't know. I mean, it's just so interesting, and I don't know what Jed Hoyer, no, not Jed Hoyer. Oh my God. Let's just say the Cubs front office. My brain is not half asleep. It's just I got so many sports rattling around up here at one time. If you're in sports media, you get what I'm talking about when we have to literally keep baseball postseason and regular season in our head, but then keep preseason football in our head because training camp has now started there. I mean, there's just so much going on up here, guys, and I apologize. But yeah, this Cubs team, teams are going to know what the Cubs are looking for, and that is desperate pitching, both in the starting rotation and I would say both in the bullpen as well. The Detroit Tigers are going to look at where is he going, how much we can get for him, and is he still worth all that, And let's look at this. The Cubs, well, Detroit would be shipping him out of the American League, right? He would be a good fit on the north side, in my opinion, in that rotation. But here's the only downside. Are the Detroit Tigers going to want the Chicago Cubs to sell their farm system in order to get Tarek Skubal when he is on a contract year? Let's not forget that. He is on a contract year, and, just because this Cubs team is back, it doesn't mean that, they're going to get all the way back to the World Series 10 years later. But here's something I would entertain. If I were the Cubs front office, I would entertain this one. All right? your minor league system right now is non-existent. It's not like you have a guy down there, in my opinion, for the Cubs organization that they're necessarily building that system around. So here's what I would do. What I would do. Now, a lot of people might disagree with me. A lot of people might say I'm flat dead wrong. And that's okay. I'm not here to be liked by every single person in Chicago sports. This could be a possibility for the Cubs if they were willing, and Detroit was willing to take in return. Let's be honest. Detroit's got to be willing to take this deal for Skubal. All right? If the Cubs were to give Detroit Moises Ballesteros and Kevin Alcantara, which are both in the minor league system right now, you're not giving Detroit any major league use right now type of guy, even though both these guys have major league experience under their belt. You're not getting that MLB ready player in return for Skubal, but you're getting two good prospects. And for the Cubs, if you really want to make this push, because I believe they can, with this club you got Alex Bregman, you got Conforto, Swanson, you got Suzuki, all these guys. I believe that this Cubs team can make a run in the National League playoffs, but pitching is their biggest concern. like it gets to me so much because I could see it, and I'm seeing very little transactions happening for the Chicago Cubs, and we've got less than 6 days till August 3rd. We got 4 days, everybody. I mean, I don't know what both Chicago teams are doing because they know what they need, and they're not going out and getting it, and it's anyway, let's switch gears over to the south side, everybody. Let's do that. Because, I could go on and on and on about the Cubs and what I believe they need to do. But this White Sox team, they were kind of an oddball going into the All-Star break and really coming out of it. Now, they started the season really, really well. 50-45 going into the All-Star break. They come out of it, guys. They're not performing as well. Now, what do I mean when I say that? I mean, I'm seeing the same fight, but I'm also seeing a lot of errors out on the field. I'm seeing a lot of defensive miscues. And not so much that errors are racking up for the Sox, but it makes you think, is there cause for worry? Are the fans going to start freaking out? Because the one thing I like about the White Sox, and people may not, agree with me, they might disagree with me because of the owner the White Sox have. I don't care. I've always thought that the White Sox were a fan-oriented organization, and I think that harkens back to the days of Bill Veeck and some of that stuff. They still do. I think the White Sox are one of the teams in the MLB that do the most promotions a year for fans. I mean, they just announced, I think it's September 4th, I'm going to try to go to this game. They're going to do a magic wand giveaway because of what Mike Vassell has been able to do for this club just by standing in a dugout, recovering from Tommy John surgery with a fake wand in his hand. But is it fake or is it not fake? I don't know, guys. Maybe he's got some actual magic in that thing. Did somebody go to a store and buy Mike Vassell some magic juice that he fills the wand with before every game? Because let's talk about this for a sec. They are now 7-6 coming out of the All-Star break with today's 2-1 win over the Yankees on July 30th. But, like I said, there are a lot of issues I'm seeing with this White Sox ball club coming out of the break. One thing I think that really worries me with the White Sox is Kyle Teel. Kyle Teel is just one of those guys where you're like, okay, well, he got injured again, and it's like, Is this guy the new Luis Robert Jr.? I don't know what to think anymore. Well, that's what I'm hoping is not the case. Because Kyle Teel is a good catcher. We all know the quickest way to the big leagues is to put that catcher's gear on. But you always hate when you see a non-contact injury like what happened with Kyle Teel at home plate, now going to be gone for 6 to 12 weeks, which in my mind, being in that we're going into the month of August, it basically leaves Kyle Teel out of the rest of the season, really only gives him a shot to come back if the White Sox were to make a postseason push. You like to say, yeah, Kyle Teel went down, but we have Edgar Quero, we have Drew Romo, but you really don't have Edgar Quero yet. And you know what? I am at a point, guys, where I'm like, I don't know what to think about where Quero's at, because he had a walk-off single in last night's win in 12. He had a hit today to keep the line moving late in the game. But you could see here, the White Sox performance since coming after the All-Star break, they're now 7-6 with the win, like I said, with the win today over the Yankees. So they're game over 500, but they're only holding right now a 2 or 2.5 game lead. Sorry, I made these graphics before today's game and now I feel bad. So, and they're averaging under 5 runs a game, and that's Sid's coming back from the All-Star break. Is this the White Sox team we saw in the first half? I really don't think so. And when you look at the stat line for today's game, right? The White Sox had 4 hits, right? No, take that back. They had 6 hits and only was able to score 2 runs. So, it took up a while to get those 2 runs on 6 hits. And, when you're 7-6 coming out of the All-Star break, you have a 2.5 game lead on the division, but you're still averaging under 5 runs a game. I've said it in a show, by the grace of God, this team is still sitting in first place. And that's coming from a White Sox fan, because I knew, and I know, that they've had many opportunities where they could have just blown it for themselves and shot themselves in the foot repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. But I don't think there's cause to worry yet, even though some people might be going, well, this is not the White Sox team I saw in the first half. And to me right now, it's not. But I don't think it's cause to worry. I think, we saw Mooney come back from injury right before the All-Star break, right? And then you were like, okay, he didn't really produce before the All-Star break, right? And then he comes back, and I don't know if it's because of the new sushi push pop that Wrigley Field has called the Moonshot that's giving him some power. I don't know if it was because it was his bobblehead day. I don't know if it's because it was his bobblehead week. That he's kind of started to break out of that slump. So he's got 3 home runs in 3 games, 2 in one in another. So I don't think there's any cause to worry about Mooney. I think he is still making a good, strong push for AL Rookie of the Year. I'm not going to say MLB Rookie of the Year just yet, because there are so many other good rookie candidates out there this year that I just don't want to put that up in the air yet. Now, let's talk about the White Sox in the trade deadline, right? The White Sox in the trade deadline, I think it's going to look very similar to the Cubs. And I'm going to shout him out. I had a buddy that I do a show with over at WRMN, Fox Sports, over in Elgin, Marcus Mack, really good sports head. He believes he's also the co-host of Truth About Chicago Sports with me over at WRMN Fox Sports. Go check that out Saturday mornings, 8 to 9 a.m. live. He believes that the Sox are not going to make a move before the deadline, and I just don't think that's true. I think they're going to go out and get somebody. I don't think he's going to be a big name. I don't think they're going to sell the farm for a big name, but they're going to find somebody in terms of pitching. And you know, if I were the White Sox, I would just shore up that bullpen as much as you can, because we saw it in today's game against the Yankees. They had to bring Sir Anthony Dominguez out in a very, very high leverage spot, and we know that that's not what he's known for. And I was just, let me tell you something, guys. During today's game, I was holding my breath a bunch, and I hate doing that because it sucks, right? You hate having, you know, really tight wins like that. You like to have them more comfortable, right? You hate having to fight and claw your way to a win, but sometimes that's how it goes. But yeah, I don't think there's any cause to worry yet. I think if we're in the middle of August next month and they are starting still falling, they were able to take these last two in walk-off fashion against the Yankees and split the series, which is good. You didn't lose the series, but you didn't win it. You split it, which is still fine because you were able to take 2 out of 4 from the Bronx Bombers. Keep in mind, but this is a Bronx Bombers lineup without Aaron Judge, without a Cody Bellinger, and it's just, you know, they could still create power. The Yankees can, just not as much without Judge in that lineup, in my opinion. But hey, since the Sox were in town this week, the Cubs were out of town, but weirdly enough, guys, there were still some events going on at Wrigley Field this weekend, and I was able to go and cover a said event. They call it both the greatest show in sports and the hottest show in sports. I will explain when I will explain next. Welcome back, everybody. I don't know what happened with the commercial there. I will have to look into that next week, and I truthfully do apologize. We usually have a minute commercial that plays, and it did not. But hey, welcome back to the Chicago Sports Mayhem Talk Show. I am your host, Andrew Mighty Man Scheid. I enjoy being here with you every week. Wouldn't be my life without doing Chicago Sports Mayhem for you guys. I really enjoyed just keeping you up to date. If you don't get a chance to watch any of the games, keeping you up to date with what's going on throughout Chicago sports, and that's really what I love to do. But yeah, when I before we left for what was supposed to be a break, kind of teased that something was going on at Wrigley Field this past weekend. But even though the Cubs were playing in Pittsburgh, I mean, what was going on in Wrigley if the Cubs were playing on Pittsburgh? I could wrap my head around that one, but then it hit me. Oh, yeah. There's this thing called banana ball, right? And it took over the Friendly Confines this weekend. I know I said it's coming to the Friendly Confines. It has already came. It should say came. Sorry about that. Yeah, but the Savannah Bananas and the Firefighters, both part of the Banana Ball League, came to Wrigley Field for a 3-game set against each other. Firefighters were the home team, and you know what the best part about this is, guys? I was there as a photographer for WRMN Fox Sports. I got to see my first Banana Ball game for free and work it and meet some pretty cool players, pretty cool people. Got to hear some really cool, interesting stories. And it was just a great time and a great atmosphere. When you think about Banana Ball, it really started as this thing where, like, okay, they play minor league stadiums. It's a fun thing to go do, to go see, and it's all that. But then it just ballooned, right? It ballooned into this big, now 6-team league that is just barnstorming their way across America. And dare I say, in the next few years, could we see Banana Ball go overseas? I think we could. I really think we could, for the time, the amount of energy and that they put into each of these games. Because when you think about it, guys, a normal player going to play professional baseball, right? He shows up on a day, they practice, they warm up, they get in the batting cage, they do all that, and you're ready to play, right? Well, with Banana Ball, you gotta get ready for the game, right? You gotta warm up your pitchers, throwers gotta warm up their arm, you gotta hit, do all that. But then on top of all that, they have to rehearse choreography, get all these pyrotechnics and all that straightened out. It's just a lot goes into it, but it's a fun experience. If you ever get a chance to put your name into that Banana Ball lottery when they're coming to your town, because it's a great experience. And I'm not saying you're going to win the lottery, because I know some people that have been putting their names in the lottery for a while and still have not won any tickets. And here I am, first really photography excitement for WRMN, and I'm here covering the Savannah Bananas and the Firefighters. But yeah, it was a fun weekend. I got to stand in the third base camera well all of Friday night. I was there for night 1 of Banana Ball here at Wrigley. It was just an amazing, amazing time. It was memories I'll never forget. Players, I met, I'll never forget any of that as well. I mean, it was just a great time, and I'll never forget it here. Banana Ball came to town, and they just had a blast. You had the Firefighters versus the Bananas. Here are a few of the shots I was able to capture, right? Because I'm not going to get every shot I took that night in this slide, because I will be completely honest with everyone. I took over 1,400 photos in one night, and I'm still not done sorting through them. I was there Friday night. Got to, like I said, meet a bunch of people. The game. I mean, these guys are athletes. I mean, when you look at some of these pictures, you can see them. They're warming up right here. The guy throwing the pitch. I mean, they're out there warming up. These guys are serious athletes. You can see there's Chief the Bat Dog for the Firefighters. You got one of my cohorts over at WRMN, our sports director, Mike Napolitano, interviewing one of the Bananas players post-game. And it was just a fun time to be able to network with other people that are in this industry, to meet people that travel and work for the Bananas and the Firefighters, and kind of get to know their story, to see everything that goes into these games was just amazing. And it's an experience, guys, that I will never forget in my lifetime. And you know what? I'll leave you with this. Coming out of banana ball talk here, and all my fun experiences, guys. We were leaving for the night. I think I got there around 12:30 p.m. and I got back home around 12 hours later because I had to drive all the way back home. It was about 45 minutes to an hour. Um, got to leave at around 10 o'clock p.m. that night, and we got to leave um, through right field because we were on the third base camera well. So instead of hoofing it up the stands to get out of the park, they let us walk through the door in the right field outfield, which by the if you're a Cubs fan, I'm just gonna say by the 355 sign, um, you know what that is. And what a lot of people don't realize if they're younger is the Bears used to play at Wrigley Field before they started playing at Soldier Field. And, you know, one thing I will say is that we got to leave through the room that used to be the Bears locker room. And I don't think people do like my coworkers. I don't even think Mike, my sports director, realized at the time that that's where we were because it looks so different. It doesn't look like a locker room. You know, you walk in there and I was able on the way out just to like peer my head around the corner and you see all the lockers and all that and there's a whole bunch of different stuff in there because I think it's like groundskeeping or maintenance or something now. But you peek your head around and you're like, okay, this has not changed. Like this room has not changed because I can't really change the dynamics and structure. So this more or less room has been the same structural design since the park opened. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, how did they fit a whole football team in here? Like that's how I was looking at that. But you know, you walk through that door and you think about, okay, Dick Butkus ran through this door out on to play game one. It's Gale Sayers, same thing. Mike Ditka, the coach, same thing. He ran through that door out onto that field, and you know the Cubs used to come out through that door when they back in the day. So it's just when you're a sports historian and you know a lot about sports history like I do, it's just this wave hits you. And yes, in case everyone was wondering, yes, I got to touch the ivy. I will never forget that. And after slamming my back, like actually slamming into that wall, I can honestly say that if I was running full tilt to that wall to make a play, that ivy is no padding. That wall is very unforgiving. Um, but yeah, that I mean, a fun weekend. It got to hear Jesse Cole talk, and honestly, got to, what maybe 2 minutes I ran into him in the dugout. Not even that. Maybe it was like 20 seconds because how busy that man is. But you know, when he has the time. And he was actually able to crash one of our Saturday shows that Mike was doing on the Rise for WRMN in a fun way. So when you have someone like Jesse Cole coming and crash your radio show because he was doing it live from Wrigley Field Saturday, that's fun. And he's one of the nicest guys I believe you'll ever meet on this planet. In Jesse Cole, really puts the fans first when it comes to Banana Ball. And what more could you want from a league, right, than just to put the fans first? But hey, I want to thank everyone for joining me here today. I know it's been kind of weird today. Commercial kind of didn't happen. But hey, I'm going to leave everyone with my mighty words of wisdom of the week. And I think I've said this before, but I can drive it home again, and it's just follow your dreams and don't let anything stand in your way. And I mean, I think I'm the biggest component to that, to where, you know, I am almost like at the tippy end of this program. Like, I can see graduation day, right? And like, I kind of want to be done, but I know there's like the documentary. I gotta finish it, right? And I gotta finish this last little like radio thing for my teacher, right? But I'm not letting that get in my way. I'm not letting it stop me. I'm pushing through. I'm going forward. I'm not letting anything get there. You know, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. If you let things stand in your way, you're never gonna get there. Is it possible to break down a brick wall? Yes. Is it going to hurt some? Of course. But you gotta do it. I've broken down so many brick walls in my life that I'm surprised I don't have black and blue marks all over my body. But hey, it's just something that we have got to do if we want to chase our dreams, because our dreams are there and we can't achieve them. There's nothing in this planet that you can't do. There's nothing in this planet that you can't achieve if you put your mind to it. And if there's anyone in your life telling you otherwise, say, bye-bye. I don't need you in my life, because you really don't. If someone's being that negative in your life, you really don't need them, okay? That's all I'm going to say, everyone. Just anyone young out there, chase your dreams. I started this a little over a year ago, graduated from RTB, about to graduate from sports emphasis, love being an alumni here, and I'm already working professional sports in a lot of aspects, and I really enjoy it. I get to cover the Bears and White Sox over at WRMN. I get to, like I said, I just got do banana ball, and just more opportunities I hope are going to come my way. And that's partially because of me not letting anything stand in my way and just staying positive, I think, is the biggest thing, guys. And that's what I want to drive home to not just the little people at home and the younger people, just to everyone. Just don't let anything step in your way. You're never too old to learn anything new. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned coming through this school and this program. There's nothing you can't do, right? And you're never too old to learn a new trick. It sounds cliche, but it's true. So follow your dreams. Don't let anyone stand in your way, and keep pushing forward, because that's all you can do, right? I want to thank everyone for joining me this week, and I hope to see everyone back next week for another edition of Chicago Sports Mayhem. Peace out.